think one of the most important things to remember as we're on our healing journeys is that we did not come here to be perfect. We did not come here to have it all together, and it's impossible to do that. We're in a place of duality, and we're growing and expanding, and we chose this. We chose contrast on purpose. And I think often many of us, especially in the spiritual community, put really high standards on ourselves and feel like if at any moment or any time we're experiencing anything that doesn't feel like bliss or what we want to create in our lives, that we've somehow failed. And I think one of the most important things to remember, especially as we're working on healing our emotional bodies, is that we need to make peace with our wounds. We need to make peace with the contrast in life. We need to make peace with our limited perspective and the fact that we will create, and we often create out of unconscious fears. And it's by looking at the creations around us that we get to see what our unconscious fears are, and then get to understand ourselves and have self-actualization, self-realization, and self-expansion. So it's a tool. This reality is a tool for us, and creating our realities is a tool. It's a tool to be able to see who we are reflected back to us at any given time. And it's a tool to be able to co-create with other people, to have people around us that we don't understand and that we bump up against and we have conflict with. And it's all okay. Not only is it okay, it is amazing. This is such an amazing learning hologram that we've come into. And I think it's so crucial that we make peace with it. That as we approach healing, especially working with our emotional bodies, that we don't approach ourselves as something to be fixed. And I know I've talked about this before, but not as something to be fixed, and not as something to be, not as something that's broken, and not as like certain energies or beliefs to be slain. They're just meant to be understood. And I know for me, something I've actually been working on in the last week and a half. I mean, I've been working on it my whole life, really, but as I've consciously been creating these classes and writing about my experiences with all of this, I've really been humbled and had an intense realization that it's important that I do not make war with myself. And I actually took longer than I wanted to put this video up and to put the 2 other affirmation videos that I'm going to be doing, the meditations, because one of my core beliefs as I've been working on my emotional body and working with this class as I'm also doing it, or as I'm actually putting the content out, I have had one particular core belief that I've been working on forever since I started my healing journey about 10 years ago, which is that I'm a failure. And that's one that has been with me for a really long time. And I feel like I've battled it for a really long time. And there's times I've won and I feel victorious and I'm like, take that. And I have all this amazing success and I feel good about myself. And then something happens and I feel like a failure, and then I spiral back down into feeling like, oh my gosh, I really am such a failure. And for me, the being a failure means being unworthy of love. And so if you fail, then you don't deserve to be loved. That's sort of a core belief that I have had since I was very young. And of course, my life experiences proved that to me. And then I created self-fulfilling prophecies because I believed that. And it happens less and less and less because I've been really working on that. And I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of where it came from. I'm aware of the first time I ever felt that way, and I've done all the work, and it still comes up. And I get so angry when it comes up because I feel like, again, if it comes up now, after all this work I've done, after all this awareness I've brought to it, after all this healing that I've done, and it still comes up, then it must be true that ultimately I am a failure, and that means I am unworthy of being loved. And the truth is, I know that that's not true because I can connect to the space in my heart where Source is, and I know that that's not how Source sees me. I know that that is incongruent with Source, with how Source sees me and how Source views me. And so that's where the conflict comes in. And then I battle it again because I'm like, no, I know it's not true. I know it's not true. So now I have to work through it again. Now I have to like battle it again. And what I've realized, and this is a realization that has been a long time coming. I keep getting pieces of it, but it wasn't until recently that I feel like I finally got it at a deeper level. And that was that I need to make peace with this belief. I need to make peace with the fact that it's been with me a long time and it might always be with me my whole life because it's something I'm perfecting. In fact, I understood and I saw that it's something that I chose to come and learn in this life. It was a predetermined decision I had that this would be one of the main things I work through in this life. And interestingly enough, I've shared this before. If any of you followed my other classes or my videos, I can't remember where I said this, but I know I've shared it before. And that is that my name, Amanda, actually means worthy of love. And it's so ironic because that's the one thing, that core belief that I've struggled with most of my life, is that I don't feel worthy of love. And I remember at one time when I was having sort of a breakdown about this, and feeling so unworthy of love. And I heard this voice in me. I heard Source say, "Why do you think your name is Amanda?" It was pre-planned that way so that every time someone said your name, your soul would hear, "You're worthy of love." That's how important this message was for me to come in and experience. And the source within me, I remember setting this intention before I came to into this life in particular, that this would be what I studied in this life, worthiness, that I would study love. And ironically, I chose to be born into a culture that is all about worthiness. You have to prove your worth. It's a very religious culture, and your salvation is based on worthiness, and your neighbors all base your worth on how worthy you are. And it's interesting. It's really fascinating when I looked back and really looked at this message that I've had for so long and looked at it in the context of my whole life and looked at how it has informed me, informed my life in such a huge way, and how all of my growth, I can honestly say, all my growth, all of it, at some level has stemmed from this. And when I really looked at it and really realized that, I had this immense amount of gratitude and thankfulness for the courage I had to come into this existence, to come from Source, which is a perspective of oneness and wholeness and love and unity, and come into this body as a human being into a world of separation where I knew I would experience what it felt like to not feel worthy of love. And I knew I would experience what it feels like to try to earn it, to try to earn love from people, to try to earn people's approval. And how much that would never actually satisfy me, and how I would continually have to go back to Source. I have to go back to God, to the God within me, the God who created me, and find my worth and my love there. And how drastically that would shape who I am as a person. And when I really looked at it in that context, I felt, again, an immense gratitude and an immense respect for myself for choosing this. And an immense respect for the belief, for the core belief that said I'm unworthy, because this belief and I have we've fought together and we've battled together, and we've done it for the expansion of the whole universe, not just of me. Because even through all of this, I've been able to share with other people and encourage people, and people have encouraged me, and again, we all have our very unique perspectives, but I feel like this is true with all of us. And so as you're healing, and as you're coming up against things that you've struggled with for a really long time, and if you get to those places where you feel frustrated and you feel like you failed, or you feel like you're just not getting it, or it's just hurting, take a step back and look at your life and look how much you have grown based on whatever conflicts that you chose to come in with, or you chose to have. And take a moment to just have gratitude and respect for it. Respect for who you are, and respect for the fact that this life is about that. It is about contrast. That is why we're here. We're not here to be perfect. We're not here to, we want to have more self-realization, and that is, we're simultaneously learning what we're not and learning what we are. We're learning what we want and what we don't want. And in my case, and all of us with our core beliefs, I'm learning that I'm worthy of love and what it feels like to not be worthy of love. And it's profound and tremendous. And I feel like I've done this probably in other lives as well. This is somehow a message that I feel really attracted to and passionate about, that we are worthy. That we're worthy of love even when we fail, even when we fall short, even when we make mistakes, even when the world comes crashing down, even the worst circumstance that could ever the worst mistake someone could ever make, they're still worthy of love. And I've battled that back and forth. I've battled that concept. But I know it's true because it has to be, because there would be no growth otherwise. There would be no place to go. There would be no hope for anybody if we weren't worthy to be loved. So my challenge in this video, or in this audio, is for all of you to look at your core beliefs, those things that you need, that you feel in your emotional body, that you know have caused you pain and a lot of contrast, and look at how much they've informed your life. Write about it, talk about it out loud, maybe type it up, whatever, but anything that helps you be aware of how that struggle has helped you grow. And then ask yourself, can I make peace with this? Can I approach this as, yes, I know it's something that I chose to work on in this life, but even when it comes up, anytime it comes up, anytime I feel myself at a resonance that is incongruent with how Source feels about me, I can say, thank you. This is another opportunity for me to grow. Just like I've talked about when we work with our triggers. They're gold mines. So when these things come up, it's good. It's good. It's why we're here. We're not less than. We're not failing spiritually. We don't need to spiritually bypass. We don't need to be perfect all the time. And if we're not perfect, then we're somehow failing, or we're not spiritual enough, or we're not in alignment, or we're thinking bad thoughts, or we've created all these bad things. And I think that can just be taken to an extent that it can become so self-righteous and so condemning and so hard on ourselves, when really it's just, we need to be proud of the fact that we were courageous to come here and be human, and that Earth is such an intense training ground. We're all pretty brave. We're all miracles, and we're all amazing. So make peace with your emotional body. Make peace with your wounds. Make peace with those conflicts and contrasts that you came in with and that you're working through, because you are giving data and expansion to the whole universe. You are giving Source the most unique perspective it can have. So really honor yourself and love yourself in this. And just remember, when you feel that intensity and you feel like you're frustrated with something coming up over and over again, make peace with it. Just thank it. And as you do that, you'll release the resistance toward it, and you can look at it as a friend. You can look at it as a comrade. You can look at it as your greatest teacher, your greatest learning tool. You have not failed. You are never failing. You're just feeling, and you're growing, and you're expanding, and you're learning. So just bring your awareness to it, bring your consciousness to it, and forgive yourself and release the judgment. All right, I love you guys. Ciao.